Morning everyone, I am Ars Liberty Jr., your host for today. So our topic is Freudian Revolution. So before we start our presentation, let me introduce our group member who discuss the Freudian Revolution. So we have Virgilio Puno, and we have Rika Divine, and Mika Eliza, and Miss Helen. So let's start the presentation.
So our topic for today is Freudian Revolution. So what is Freudian Revolution by Sigmund Freud? This theory has started to revolutionize psychiatry with Sigmund Freud. This includes the Freudian theory of personality that involves the human development and contributes to his or her personality, and also his psychoanalysis. That is the process for achieving proper functioning if a human does not complete his or her development stage. So in this revolution, Sigmund Freud have two theories. First is the theory of personality. And this theory involves the human development that contributes to his or her personality, and also his psychoanalysis. So what is psychoanalysis? Psychoanalysis refers to both a theory and the type of therapy based on the belief that all people possess unconscious thought, feelings, desire, and memories. And also, psychoanalysis nowadays is used in the world not only as a therapeutic method in neurosis, personality disorder, and psychosomatic disease, but is developed further as a theoretical and scientific discipline which in many aspects exceed Freud's basic work. And the second one is the theory of psychosexual stages. So the second theory is the theory of psychosexual. In this theory, he proposed that our behavior and development are influenced by the interaction between consciousness and unconsciousness. So what is conscious and unconscious aspect? Conscious aspect is that we are aware of what we're doing, but unconscious aspect is we are not totally aware of what we're doing. Sigmund Freud have 5 psychosexual stages. So the first one is oral stage. Oral stage occur between birth to about 18 months. During this time, an infant gets most of their pleasure from their mouth. This is associated with behavior like eating and thumb sucking. Freud believed an infant can develop oral fixation if their oral needs aren't met. The second one is the anal stage. In Freudian psychology is the period of human development, occurring at about 1 to 3 years of age. Around this age, the child begins to toilet train, which bring about the child fascination in the erogenous zone of the anus. The erogenous zone is focused on the bowel and bladder control. The third one is the phallic stage. Is the third stage of psychosexual development, spanning the age of 3 to 6 years, wherein the infant libido or desire center upon their genital as the erogenous zone. So the next is the latent stage, is a time of exploration in which the sexual energy repressed or dormant. This energy is still present, but it is sublimated into other areas such as intellectual pursuit and social interaction. This stage is important in the development of social and communication skill and self-confidence. The last one is the genital stage. A final stage of development, the genital stage begins with the onset of puberty. During this period, the person seeks way of satisfying sexual impulses, indicting relationship and aggressive impulses through competition, physically demanding activities and exercise and argumentation. So that is the 5 psychosexual stages of Sigmund Freud.
There are 3 types of personality according to Sigmund Freud. The first is the id is present at birth and represents everything that we inherit from our parents. According to Freud, the id is the source of psychic energy, making it the primary component of personality. The id is the only component of personality that is present from birth. This aspect personality is entirely unconscious and includes instinctive and primitive behaviors. Number 2, ego. The ego develops as a result of our attempts to satisfy our needs through interactions with our physical and social environment. In other words, it arises from the id. The ego attempts to fulfill the id's desire by serving as a negotiator that strives for a compromise between what the id wants and what the outside world can grant it. Ego is the part of our mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and sense of personal identity. The third is superego. The superego arises from the ego and develops as internal representation of the moral values of the environment. The superego judges what we should morally do or not do, and guides us about the shoulds and should nots of our lives. Superego is the ethical component of the personality and provides the moral standards by which the ego operates. The superego's criticisms, prohibitions, and inhibitions form a person's conscience and its positive aspirations and ideals represents what ideal self-image. Who is the founder of Freudian Revolution? The founder of Freudian Revolution is Sigmund Freud. Born on May 6, 1856, Freiburg, Moravia, Austrian Empire. Now pre-war, Czech Republic, and died September 23, 1939, London, England. Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis.
So what is the impact of Freudian Revolution? Freud's most obvious impact was to change the way society thought about and dealt with mental illness. Before psychoanalysis, which Freud invented, mental illness was almost universally considered organic. That is, it was thought to come from some kind of deterioration or disease of the brain. So Sigmund Freud's theories and work helped shape current views of dreams, childhood personality, memory, sexuality, and therapy. Freud's work also laid the foundation for many other theories to formulate ideas, while others developed new theories in opposition to his ideas. So what is the first main theory? Freudian theory postulates that adult personality is made up of three aspects. 1. The id operating on the pleasure principle generally within the unconscious. 2. The ego operating on the reality principle within the conscious realm. And so 3. The superego operating on the morality principle at all levels of consciousness.
So what is significant contribution of Freudian theory? One of Freud's most important contribution of the field of psychology was the development of the theory and practice of psychoanalysis. Some of the major tenets of psychoanalysis include the significance of the unconscious early sexual development, repression, dreams, death, and life drives, and transference. Psychoanalysis of Freud developed a set of therapeutic techniques centered on talk therapy that involves the use of strategies such as transference-free association and dream interruption. An Austrian neurologist, he was one of the most important thinkers of the early 20th century and pioneered many psychological concepts, including the idea of the unconscious, representation, psychoanalysis, and talk therapy.
So how did Sigmund Freud contribute to society? Freud developed a set of the therapeutic techniques centered on talk therapy that involves the use of strategies such as transference-free association and dream interruption.
Psychoanalysis became a dominating school of truth during the early years of psychology and remains quite influenced today. Freud developed the association is a psychology that involves encouraging the patient to talk openly about whatever is on their mind in a stream of consciousness fashion. During the early 20th century, American psychology was dominated by behaviorism and psychoanalysis. The early schools of psychology, structuralism and functionalism, were the two early schools of true psychology.
So, what were the effects of Sigmund Freud's theories? While Freud's theories have been widely criticized, it is important to remember that his work made important contributions to psychology. It sparked a major change in how we view mental illness by suggesting that not all psychological problems have physiological causes. What were the effects of Sigmund Freud theories? Freud's most obvious effects was to change the way society thought about the dealt with mental illness. Before psychoanalysis, which Freud invented, mental illness was almost universally considered organic, that is, it was thought to come from some kind of deterioration or disease of the brain. And also Freud's theories have been widely criticized. It is important to remember that his work made important contributions to psychology. It sparked a major change in how we view mental illness by suggesting that not all psychological problems have physiological causes.
So how did Freud contribute to the scientific revolution? Through the development of a novel observational method, Sigmund Freud made a possible to collection of reliable data about man's inner life. The scientific hypothesis he formulated about this formed the initial version of the psychoanalysis. Freud contributes to the scientific revolution is that many of these first thoughts have had to be revised in the light of subsequent scientific findings about the operations of the central nervous system. But even this reputed proposition often had much heuristic value. Despite the passage of a whole century, many Freudian hypotheses have retained their scientific standing. Most important among this was Freud's realization that human thought is usually unconscious. His understanding of the role of the automatic repetition of basic pattern of behavior, of the painful consequence of early childhood emotions, vicissitudes in structuring enduring mental disposition, and of the distinction between two distinct modes of thinking are the most significant among his many contributions.
So, why is Freud so important in psychology? Considered the father of modern psychology, his theories and ideas on the connections that exist between the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the body, and the world around us are still the widely known as they were when he first exposed them at the turn of the 20th century. Freud revolutionized how we think about and treat mental health conditions. Freud founded psychoanalysis as a way of listening to patients and better understanding how their minds work. Psychoanalysis continues to have an enormous influence on modern psychology and psychiatry.
What are the three levels of consciousness identified by Freud? The pain to psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud believed that behavior and personality were derived from the constant and unique interaction of conflicting psychological forces that operate at three different levels of awareness: the preconscious, conscious, and unconscious. He believed that each of these parts of mind plays an important role in influencing behavior. In order to understand Freud's theory, it is essential to first understand what he believed each part of personality did, how it operates, and how these three elements interact to contribute to the human experience. Each level of awareness has a role to play in shaping human behavior and thought.
So that's all for today. Thank you for listening. So again, we are Group 3, and thank you.